Okay. Everyone ready to dive into social media? So just really quickly about myself. My name's James Barraclough. Tricky last name to pronounce. Difficult to look at too. But it's hard going after KJ. I think he tends to incorporate some good jokes at the beginning of presentations, and he steals all the fun slides with the world of opportunities and everything. But I think this will hopefully be an interesting topic. The people that we've spoken with already here have a large appetite for some information about social media and how we can use it in employer branding. But so just really quickly, so I come from the U.S., from the land of where Georgia means fried chicken, Atlanta, and Southern cooking. But now that I'm here in the original Georgia for the first time, I'm extremely impressed. Everybody's been extremely welcoming. Our hosts have been amazing. The food, as KJ already alluded to, has been awesome. And I think, I have to hit the gym again when I get back to Sweden. So I do live in Stockholm. I work in our headquarters as well. I'm transplant from New York. So very pleased to be here today and seeing all these friendly faces. And looking forward to chatting a little bit more later in the evening if you have deeper questions and things. But let's get right to it. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about best practices. So what we're seeing from a social media standpoint, digital activation. So like KJ alluded to, we think about employer branding as a holistic journey. It's a cycle. It doesn't finish. And so like KJ said, with some employers, we do an EVP, we do all this great work, we come out with something that's incredibly insightful, it's a strategic plan. But when we get to this stage, it's all done, then it gets put on a shelf somewhere. It doesn't get brought to life. Employers say, so now what? What do I do? How do I bring this to life? You need to bring it to life. It takes time, it takes resources, it takes strategy, it takes a plan. And you have to be very strategic now because the world has changed in a big way. So radio, TV, those were the far-reaching communication platforms before. But now, social media has transformed the world, and new channels are coming about every day. Snapchat, Pinterest, Instagram, all these channels are popping up, and it's hard to keep track of what's what, where talent is. Is the new generation going to be on these channels still? Are we, spending money, resources on something that's going to be irrelevant in 2 years? But the fact of the matter is, a quarter of the planet is connected by social media networks, and it's a place where talent spends an incredible amount of time. So we looked at, as KJ alluded to as well, we looked at Generation Z, and this is even more true of them than the millennial generation. So they're always connected, always online. Everybody in this room, as a matter of fact, is always online. But Generation Z, they grew up with high-speed mobile internet access. I, as a millennial, still remember fighting my mom for the dial-up internet. So I didn't grow up with that from the get-go. KJ's kids already are playing with the iPads and everything. Didn't have that either. I had the Game Boy Color and the Nintendo NES. And they're extremely comfortable interacting online with others. This is a huge, huge point, I think, to make because this is where they're looking for interaction. So it doesn't replace, like KJ said, it doesn't replace the human element. You still need to go to campus. You still need to meet with people, shake hands, invest time in putting a face to a name. But the interaction capabilities online, on social media, and the efficiency that's driven through that is incredible. So talent is looking to not only interact there, but also to consume and share content. So this is a big thing for employers to keep in mind. They're looking for content all the time. They're looking for fresh content. It can't be stale, it can't be boring, it can't be corporate. It has to be something that grabs their interest. And we'll get back to that. And they easily adapt to new technologies. So whether it's a new app, a new platform, the iPad or the new phones. And they implement them in their workflow. And this is something that's incredibly valuable to employers going forward because technology is transforming the way we work as well. the value of corporations, of organizations, has moved more and more towards intangible, as KJ mentioned, and the efficiency and usage of people's minds and those people themselves is the most important aspect. So, and the fact of the matter is, with social media, a lot of employers are hesitant. They're not going to want to hear from us. It's a personal space for them. We get pushback from talent that they don't want to get advertisements or corporate messaging. But the fact of the matter is, Generation Z, the upcoming talent, and this is true to a lesser extent as well of current undergraduate millennial talent, is they want to be contacted on social media regarding job opportunities and career progression. So the data is clear. And another really interesting topic, so the coloring changed here for the letters, but so 109 minutes per day spent on social media on average. That's a lot. That's almost 2 hours a day. And for comparison, Fido here, cute little Fido, gets 39 minutes per day. So we spend only, roughly 40 minutes with our pets per day, compared to 2 hours almost on social media. And the big thing that I think raises a lot of eyebrows with 109 minutes per day spent on social media is how that's divided up. 50 minutes per day of that are spent on Facebook and Instagram. So almost half just on that platform, or on that platform family. And that's incredibly important information to keep in mind. And the depth of usage of Facebook, the penetration into the talent market. So I get this question a lot. Facebook's dead though, right? I mean, Instagram is much cooler. Snapchat, everybody's using Snapchat all the time, sending off snaps. Lottie's sending off snaps probably right now. But actually, it's definitely not. So 60% of current undergraduates specifically search for employer information on Facebook. So yes, you'll hear about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is absolutely part of where you need to be. It's a part of any social media strategy and communications plan, but it's actually further down the funnel. So Facebook, I see, and we see as Universum, through experience, through constant adaptation and learnings, Facebook is the most efficient channel for reach and for cultural and more comprehensive sharing about you as an employer. So LinkedIn is a bit more tactical, a little bit more further down the funnel. So once you've engaged with talent, once they've become aware and are considering you as an employer, LinkedIn then is once, oh yeah, I've met a recruiter there, I'm interested in a job already, I want to check out their opportunities. It's further down in the recruiting process. So it's definitely not dead. And in fact, it's actually really noisy. So this is from the US, and as KJ, you keep stealing some of my little tidbits here. The US is very much one of the trend lines we watch for a lot of adoption of employer branding practices and how things are going. So in 2010, we tracked the 200 top brands in the country, and only 11 of them were using Facebook from a career-specific standpoint. So only 11 of them had a careers page on Facebook. In 2014, 141 of them. So extremely rapid progression in that regard, and now it's even more. So now I would say if you don't have a careers page on Facebook, at least in the US, you stand out as very much off the pace. And from the noisy standpoint, this is a surefire indicator. 30 million businesses now on Facebook, and there's 2 trillion posts out there. It's a lot to wade through. And Facebook knows that, and it knows that it will die as a channel if you're bombarded with content that is not relevant to you. So you still see people flipping through stuff, just completely ignoring it. But the objective then is what we call a thumb stopper, something that's going to catch interest, make you capture or pay attention to what's being shown to you. And we'll get back to how to optimize that. But Facebook knows that it won't be a relevant channel for talent if it's not showing content that you're going to be engaged with. And so they have a formula behind how they get shown, how they decide what you see on your news feed. And as a result, only 2% of posts are seen at any given time. So, for instance, a big corporate page could have 1 million likes, but only 2% of those people who have liked your page are actually going to see those posts. And that's because that type of page actually doesn't get that much engagement. It's putting out typically corporate information, CSR-related stuff, message from the CEO. It's not capturing talent's interest. And so Facebook doesn't reward that with the algorithm. So the type of posts, though, that are engaging, that are getting comments, that are getting shares, those are the type that get tremendous cut through. And that's typically done by localizing your page, by having a page specifically for your market. So if you're a global organization, having a page for Georgia or for the US, and also producing content on a regular basis that is fresh and related to careers, that's actually genuine. And we'll actually get back to data-led, human, and purposeful, because that's what is really at the heart of winning there. So if everyone is playing, how do you win? The old conventional advertising concept, so the Don Drapers of the world. Any Mad Men watchers in the room? Yeah? Yeah, this is what he did. This is what Don Draper did. So he'd sit in the room with the creatives, come up with some ideas, a big strategy, and then they launch it. And then do the user research. So, okay, what went right, what went wrong? Okay, then we adjust a little bit, and then design the whole thing, build and set and launch, and then you measure. And then a year, 2 years later, you spend a whole lot more money having Don Draper sit in a room and design a whole new big strategy. That's now no longer relevant. That doesn't work. Things move too fast. Talent is multitasking so much that their attention span for something like this, the cut through is not going to be there. It's not going to have the impact that the spend on that type of strategy warrants. So now it's about smaller strategies, about what we call micro strategies. So in this case, somebody like myself would sit in a room and come up with a smaller strategy, not spend as much time, not spend as many resources as Don Draper. Come up with a small strategy, based on data. What do we know? Let's get out there, let's see what works. We plan, design, launch, measure really quickly, efficiently. And then you get immediate insights. So we live in a different world than Don Draper did. He didn't, he wasn't a dumb guy. He didn't have, the same type of measurement ability that we do. So we can get insights immediately in real time from what's working on social media, what posts do well, how can we adapt that? And then you come up with another little strategy. You adjust, and that continues. So there's learning curve involved, but you're adaptive, you're fast, you're smart, and people see that. Talent sees that. So, okay, so I know now how I should be strategizing about it, but how do I tackle the actual content? What is going to be relevant content for talent? And that's a tricky one. Many companies don't have resources for a really smart person to be sitting there and dreaming up content, doing really good stuff, going throughout the organization, finding real stories. And that's the thing. It is about stories. And those stories, there's 3 key pillars for how to tell stories for talent now. And it's data-led, human, and purposeful. Those are 3 things, if you wake me up in the middle of the night, I will be able to tell you. And I hope, if you take one thing away from my presentation, it's this. So for data-led, you have to know what to talk about. And this is why I would say Universum has done so well in this space, and why we've, as an organization, felt it was a good move for us to move into the space, because we are starting to compete with some of the big Don Draper agencies. Those guys are typically getting millions and millions for big creative concepts. We don't have a bunch of creative people, but we know what to talk about. And those companies don't, the agencies don't. They don't do research. They don't identify, what target talent is looking for. And this is the type of thing that comes from Universum's analysis is looking at segmentation. And KJ talked about this for the EVP, but this is just as relevant for once you communicate. So you identify, if you look at this is just an example, but these are the top 10 preferences for a total population. So good reference for future career, high future earnings up here. Creative and dynamic work environment third. And so if you were just to launch that full bore to everyone without, segmenting, putting some nuance into it, you would have some missed opportunities. You can actually be a lot more effective by toning down the attractive and exciting products and services for women. Talk more about the leaders who support my development. That's extremely key for them, but not as much for the males. Well, they're more interested in hearing about the attractive and exciting products. So that's the type of thing, being data-led, thinking nuanced about target groups, what you're trying to convey, and what's going to be realistic for you as an organization. But you also have to know how to talk about it. And so when I say T, you all probably have a pretty consistent idea in your mind, or an image in your mind of what T looks like. We're in a country and all of you are from here, so T probably looks the same. But that one word, which is something everybody knows what it is, even, which is not the case for some of these more theoretical concepts or parts of a brand. This is a tangible thing. But in all these countries, it's a different experience, it's a different image, it's a different thought, it's a different cultural position. And so all of these, these are just some examples. This one's actually probably from Georgia in the US, the sweet iced tea. But that's just, an example of how talent can construe messages or an idea differently. And so then it's important to dig into what are the underlying things that make up innovation. How is your company innovative? You can shout about innovation till you turn blue in the face, but if you can't communicate what it is that, how talent fits into that innovation, what they're actually going to be doing that's innovative and how they impact the organization in that respect, then it's just a word. It doesn't resonate with talent. So that's part about being data-led, understanding that. And then it's about human. And KJ touched on this as well, but it's not about brands anymore. It's about people. And that's the key thing, is we're undergoing a time now where brands are forcing to become people in a sense. Therefore being, you can't have the stock images of the handsome Mexican guy anymore. That doesn't work. It doesn't resonate with talent. They need to look like people at your organization, real people. And you have to speak in their language, not that of a corporation. This is why a lot of the corporate pages don't do well. It's just some very dry text, no calls to action. It's not, speaking in the language of talent, the people you're trying to communicate with. And this is an example of a bank in Latin America, and it's an extreme example, but it's a fun one. So they did an entire campaign based on emojis. And not everybody's going to do emojis, nor should they. But it's an example of thinking creatively then about how are you communicating? What is the talent group that you're trying to communicate to? What are the channels that they're on, and how do they like to be communicated with? As KJ pointed out, it's a talent market now. It's returning to the time now where the employers don't get to make all the rules. Talent have more options. They have it's very much competitive for them. They get to make some demands, and they also speak in the language, but also act in a human way. So responding on your social media. It shouldn't be a dead channel where you post some stuff and then it's done with. It's gone. If talent is engaging with your posts, with your content, it's very important to make them feel like it's an actual engagement, not just one-way street. And also let your people talk. So this is about storytelling, and this is about identifying people in your organization or teams in your organization that live the values that you want to communicate as an organization, and letting them tell their stories, giving them the channel, giving them the opportunity to be facing talent. So whether it's taking them to campus or taking them to professional organizations to meet people and talk about their roles and their journey, or whether it's putting them on social media, having webinars, things like that. That's the kind of thing that really gets attention from talent. And the reason for that is because your former and current employees are the most influential aspects of somebody considering a brand, an organization. So other people who have worked there or current students from my school who have worked or are working at the employer. Those are the two biggest influencers. And it's about giving them the forum, giving them the opportunity to influence. That's so important. Because if you're strong internally, giving them the opportunity to feel like they're part of the brand as well, that's such a big part and something we're seeing more and more from employers. Oh, how can we bring this about internally as well? Because it's not just about pushing out content, it's about making your organization live the brand. Whether it's building an ambassador program where you have defined roles where people are actually tasked with being cultural ambassadors and working internally with teams to build awareness around it and live that brand. Or whether it's having activities, fun things as an entire organization. There's a lot of different things you can do internally, but if you do those types of things and give your people the chance to show themselves to the world, you will be strong externally. The final one is purposeful. So that KJ also touched on earlier is about being strategic. It's about knowing your sweet spot, what you actually want to communicate, your unique selling points, what's going to make you distinctive, what do you want to drive, and having a plan for that communication. So identifying the right channels, the right opportunities to do so, where talent are going to consume your content, which type of talent are we looking at, which attributes on what platforms, what voice to use, what tone, so the emojis or something different. It's incredibly important to then have that purposeful strategy. Why are we doing this? What are the goals? What are the KPIs we're setting out to accomplish? And then what are the elements that we need to incorporate to do that? So, and then be thoughtful about how you communicate. This kind of goes a little bit to the language as well, but this is just one example of us reshaping a post, basically, to optimize it, to communicate more effectively on social media in a more purposeful way. So it has a personalized statement here with a goal or a professional aspiration, making her real. She is a real person, and this is, about her. It's not about PwC or whatever organization. And a call to action, something that's going to actually engage talent, not just a statement, and then talent is on their way. Zoom in, focus on your people, and asymmetry as well. That's another element of thumb stopping. Number one, your eyes are drawn to other eyes, so zooming in on a person brings their eyes more clearly into focus, and you tend to look there. And asymmetry also looks different. There's a lot of stuff that's symmetrical, and you tend to gloss over symmetrical stuff. So having a little asymmetry, having something that's a little different. And then motivational action words drive, some of the association that you're trying to get. So whether it's challenging work or something like that, make it clear, make it concise. And so what happens if you are data-led, human, and purposeful? Well, our results are so this is, pre-touch-up, and this is what it would look like. And the results are clear. We get up to 16 times more engagement than the average post on Facebook globally. So those are, the type of results you could expect when you do this type of thing, when you're putting out data-led, human, and purposeful content. And this is just one case example. I was asked to share a little bit about a client journey that I'm particularly fond of, and it's ExxonMobil. So big oil and gas company in the U.S. I would say they were perceived as kind of the old fuddy-duddy oil and gas company, kind of the old Texan boys. But they came to us with a challenge. We'd been working with them for a couple of years, identifying tracking their EVP, measuring how their associations were changing, but they weren't getting traction among a specific talent group. They came to us and said, and diversity is a very key issue in the US with underrepresented minorities, so African American women engineers in the southwest of the US. And that's something we call a purple unicorn. Hopefully everybody understands that. It's an extremely rare and hard to find talent group. So they came to us and said, we're not getting enough of these people. They're extremely underrepresented in our organization, and that's a priority for us. So we've been working with you on our brand and measuring it and everything, but we need to take some action on this specific goal. So this is being purposeful for them, right? They identified a challenge for themselves. We were data-led, so we have the data behind it. We've been working with it for a couple of years. And then the human element. So bringing some of their diversity to the fore, bringing some of the stories out. Their Facebook careers page when we started with them was what I would call a dead page. It has some corporate content, they post some jobs, but it's not really alive and flourishing. It's not a community, and that's what we're aiming for from a human perspective. So they came to us with a target. Can you get us 30 applications from this group, African American women engineers? We said, yep, we're going to do our best. We're going to do it. In 20 days, we got 200 applications from that specific target group. And the reason is because we were data-led, human, and purposeful. So Facebook has some incredible ability to target. So not only is everybody on Facebook, so LinkedIn, a vast majority of job seekers, or current job seekers, professionals, are on LinkedIn, but not everyone is on LinkedIn. Everyone is on Facebook, except in China. But because of that, and because of our talent pool and the engagement that we have with students, we know how to reach this talent. And so we reach them with relevant content, and that engages them. So from that, they got 27 quality applications from the 200. So not everybody's going to be perfect. Not everybody's going to be a fit. They got 27 quality applications, and they hired 12 of them. That's 700% higher engagement from this campaign than all their competitors, who I would say before this were doing better than them on social media. And the ROI, so this is where management's ears perk up. Yeah, we hired 12 people, but could we have hired those 12 people for less money or the same money doing the old way? Could we have done that? The average cost of hire was $5,000 for what they spent basically on the campaign for those 12 people. Sorry, $5,000 from when for average cost per hire for them. But then cost per quality application from the social program was even lower. So the total program investment, just under $65,000 US dollars. And they saved, it was basically half of what they would have spent otherwise. And this is a very challenging target group as well. So it's even, I would say, more scalable when it's a broader target group. So this is just one example of how we help brands take the next step from being data-led, being thoughtful, developing an EVP, and then bringing it to life, bringing it out to talent and accomplishing goals that you need to accomplish. So, and then I just wanted to touch on, so then positive momentum has come out of this in that now they have their own employees organically advocating for them on this page. So they don't tell their employees to go on here and comment, but this employee actually answered a query from a random talent on the page. And they actually have talent from competitors. So this guy is from Marathon Oil, which is a competitor in Houston, and they're interacting on the Exxon page, and not in a negative way either. They're interested. They see this community engagement. So KJ had 9 steps, and you probably don't remember all of them, and I have 8 key learnings, and you may not remember all of them, but reinforcing some of the things that I've talked about. So be targeted. Understand who you need for your business and where to find them. Build a data-led foundation. I mean, that's what KJ and I have been talking about the whole time. Make sure your communication plan is based on data, not gut instinct. Localize. One shoe does not fit all. Act local while maintaining global consistency. This is relevant to the EVP as well. Tell stories through your people. So social media is about people, not the brands. People resonate with other people. Dare to be different. Most employers try to talk about the same things. Differentiate. Look yourself in the mirror. Again, this goes back to formulating the post. Most social content is visually identical. So that's why you tend to skip past so much stuff. Be honest to differentiate yourself. Find creative ways to explore the stories your people have to share. Create community. So this is the human interaction level. Make it an organic place. Make it somewhere where it makes sense for talent to be. And learn continuously. This goes back to the Don Draper analogy, where there is no big final answer. There is no one key to the door. It's to learn continuously, adapt, always try to be better. And this is, I would say, one thing that I've personally taken to heart in everything. So I think if you can follow these 8 steps, then you're going to be golden on social media. That's all I have for right now. Thank you.